Hi everyone, welcome to another Should I Fly It? Today we're going to take a look at the Crack Swarm. For this variation we're going to look at the Howlrunner, 3 Black Squadrons and 2 Omega Squadron Pilots and have a chat about how that variation of the Crack Swarm works. So we'll just open up with the choice for the 2 Omega Squadrons over, for example, a Wampa and maybe a more expensive Backstabber or something like that. The reason I like the Omegas is because obviously they add a bit of backbone to a list. Those 2 extra shields aren't really to be sniffed at. It can dissuade people from actually targeting them when they might be the more optimal shot. Won't always against good opponents, but it's just that extra bit of hit points in the list. You also get the benefit of the TIE FO dial. As you can see, it does have the greens all across the 2s and access to the 2 sloop. So it's a really good dial. It's not quite interceptor with the greens for the forwards, but it can still move. It's still got the hard ones, so it doesn't struggle to hold the formations. And also, one of the weaknesses of the Swarm is obviously if Howlrunners popped early, the effectiveness does dip. But with the Omegas having a target lock, they can still output pretty consistent damage. So, all in all, I actually like this variation of the list. It's done reasonably well when it's made the cut at tournaments, but it does have the swarm factor that player fatigue does come into the larger events, so it does take some practice to run this type of list. Make sure you work on your openings, getting the spacings correct. You don't always want to just line up 3x3 and charge it straight up the table. It's got a little bit more intricacies to it than that. Obviously the reason the crack shot works so well in this list is because of the multiples of it, and that's a multiplicative effect of how effective the card can be. Having 6 crack shots, so you get to roll all those dice, see how your opponents roll in, decide if you need to spend it, and that's the main way you're going to try and take down a Fel or an Inquisitor or any of those annoying ships. And you don't need to try and get in range 1 of them with the entire swarm. You want to try and cover off a large portion of the table with your firing arc. Even if you've got a roll dice at range 3, a crack shot will add a large amount of fear to your opponent, because it only takes 1 bad roll and you're going to be attacking that consistently, that it will happen eventually. You just got to not trade too many Black Squadrons before they've had a chance to use the crack shot. And that's one of the things to look at when you're playing against this list, is are you going to focus on Howlrunner, who might not be the optimal shot? Are you going to ignore the Omega Squadrons because they've got the shields and they might have broken off slightly from the formation? And it can be tricky to make the right choice. It's hard to talk through without the table state being in front of us, and obviously the list you might be running against it. But generally, you want to try and focus down the TIE fighters systematically. If Howlrunner isn't the best shot, don't feel like you have to go after her early. You can just punish the one TIE that's slightly misplaced. And if you have the opportunity to kill a ship before it uses its crack shot, you have to try and take it. When you're trying to decide if it's a list you want to fly, the good points it has is obviously the consistent pilot skill throughout the list. 4 comes in at a good level currently. It's a decent enough bid. It outbids TLTs, which admittedly we're not seeing too many of at the moment. It also gets in above Jump Masters, which is good. If you can potentially remove a jump master before it gets to fire its torpedoes, and then flying TIE fighters, you should not lose a TIE fighter to one torpedo. Should. Normally it takes two, but dice happen, you know. Other things to consider when you're running the list is asteroid placements. You want to try and, if you're flying it, you want to make sure you've got an appropriate amount of space between your asteroids. If you have to clump them up, make sure you get them really tight so you have a nice open space to fly into. At some point I'll try and do a demonstration, maybe a vassal recording of just different types of asteroid placements and what lists they can benefit and things like that. But for now we're just doing a brief overview of the list, so I'll leave it there, and hopefully if you feel like giving it a try, just practice your openings, make sure you can get them into a position to roll all of those dice and watch ships disappear. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, and feel free to leave any comments about how terrible I am at the game, and any lists you'd like me to do a Should I Fight about, and any other videos you'd like to see, guys. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you